Greetings from Florida. I want to say how much I enjoyed being with many of you on my recent visit to Irvine and to meet the members of the congregation there. As you may recall, in my meetings, I had stated that the superintendent as well as the bishop had asked me to come in and to do a consultation with the church on issues around growth, particularly numerical growth of the church and expanding its ministry there in Irvine. My process is to meet with as many people of the congregation as I can, particularly in smaller groups, and to hear their feedback. I think some of the groups were expecting me to answer questions more so, but my role really is to listen and to hear some of the concerns and some of the issues. And I felt like every meeting I had, some that were probably more easy than others, but I did feel that everyone was quite vocal in how they felt about the church and their concerns. And I know that that's difficult sharing with a stranger in your midst, but I do appreciate it. My process then is to take what I've listened to and heard from all the groups and then make some suggestions and recommendations based upon that. The page or the document that you have in front of you has all of those recommendations and suggestions that I have made. You may or may not know, but over 80% of the churches in our country share a similar state as University United Methodist Church, and that is over 80% of the churches, including yours, is in a state of perpetual numerical decline. For whatever reason, members are either passing away, they're relocating, or they're just moving to other churches, but well over 80% are in numerical decline. And we find that most of these churches, and I work with a lot of them, or I'm called in to do a consultation with them, most of them are grieving about this fact. They're in some state of grief. They're either in denial, they're angry about it, they're bargaining to try to get something to fix it. Many of them are depressed, they're exhausted. And very few of them have reconciled the fact that they're declining and want to do something about it. So in fact, I find that many of the churches that I work with are paralyzed. And so they're continually having meetings to kind of look behind under every rock to figure out what's causing all these problems. And oftentimes the presenting problem is not really the underlying problem. And so one of my roles as a consultant is to come in and say, okay, what's kind of underneath, what's real and what's not real. But I do find that many churches, the ones that are declining, have come to accept their condition and almost treat it like a security blanket and say, okay, well, we probably should do something, but let's just talk about it. And that makes us comfortable in looking at it. The real question is, 20% of our churches in this country are, in spite of all the bad news that we hear, are growing. And I believe that the church there in Irvine, University United Methodist Church, needs to think about what are the 20% doing that can move us forward. I was called to come in and consult with your congregation because there is a strong belief on behalf of your district superintendent, your bishop, and the lay leadership of your congregation, that it does have the possibility of joining the 20% of the churches that are growing in this country, both numerically and spiritually, but primarily numerically. That's really my role. My role is not to help you with your discipleship. That's your pastors and spiritual leaders' role. My role is to help you think through the strategies that are necessary in 2016 to reach the people of Irvine, California. And so the churches that are in your same condition, that take up their pallet and walk and actually move forward, they do some things that are very different from what your church is doing. And in the document before you, I've given you what I think are the primary issues that need to be addressed for you to take up your pallet and walk. Now, some of them include some difficult decisions. So for example, I always kept hearing about how great the choir was, and yet I kept looking for what's the plan to expand and leverage how great of a choir you have. Now, you may have a plan for that, but I never heard it, and I never heard it articulated. So that to me was an alarming understanding. So that's why in my suggestions you'll see to expand the choir to younger people, to have younger people, to have more than one choir, multiple choirs, smaller groups, using the summer for smaller groups. These are the kind of things. And so my observations and suggestions are in the document that before you that can help you join the 20% of our churches in our country who at one point were in decline but are now gaining new people and really making an impact in their community in any number of ways. So that's the document that you'll be discussing. And again, I want to thank you for allowing me to come in and be a part of what your journey is. I really believe that Irvine United Methodist is strategically located and has the resources to reach a significant number of people in Irvine. And by the way, just so you're aware, there are plenty of unchurched people in Irvine that if all the churches that now exist in your city were filled, there would still be thousands of people still unchurched. So there's plenty of unchurched people to go around. Again, thank you again for letting me be a part of your church and to participate as it begins to think through the decisions of going forward. God bless you.